Hi and welcome. In this video I'm going to be refitting the starter motor to my Moto Guzzi Le Mans 1000. For those of you who watched my last video where I removed my Bosch starter motor, you'll have seen the fact that the reason I removed it was I was having trouble with engagement of the pinion gear. The pinion gear on this particular starter motor is fairly worn. And whilst parts were available for these starter motors for many years, they seem to have dried up in the last 10-15 years, and I couldn't locate a replacement part. So I'm going to put this starter motor on the shelf with the view to refurbishing it down the track when a part comes available. But what I've done in the meantime is I've purchased one of these Chinese-built Arrowhead starter motors. Now, Arrowhead make a wide range of starter motors to fit a wide range of vehicles. And certainly they make several for Moto Guzzis. So we'll just unbox this and have a look at what comes with it. There's a sheet in here which is a test sheet which gives all the various parameters and functionality of the starter motor during testing. And inside that, in a bag, let's remove the box, is the starter motor. Now this particular starter motor looks more reminiscent of the later Vallejo starter motors than a Bosch, so I'm assuming it's probably a geared drive starter motor. I don't really know. Now the major difference between this and the Bosch is that this is a 9-tooth pinion, I think. 4, 5, 6, yeah, it looks like a 9-tooth pinion as opposed to the 8 on the original Bosch. Now these are meant to be interchangeable. But I guess I'll know once I fit it, and certainly this is the starter motor that was recommended for my particular bike. Now the only other issue with these motors is I believe that sometimes the solenoid housing will impinge on one of the bolts on the neutral light switch, which is mounted on the gearbox at about this point. But I'll fit it up and see how much clearance there is. I might have to machine down the bolt head to give enough clearance for this. Now I'm just going to run a die over the two mounting bolts just to clean off any burrs before I refit them. Well, first I'll just mount the starter motor in a temporary manner just to check the clearance with this bolt here on the neutral light switch. Now I'll just try and get this feeler gauge between the head of that bolt. Now it does actually have a little bit of clearance, but it's not much. So I'm going to take the starter motor off. I'm just going to machine down the head of that bolt a little bit, and then we should be good to go. Okay, I've machined down the head of this bolt a little bit. They're fairly low profile bolts anyway, so I couldn't really take that much off it. But I think it's just enough to give just a little bit more clearance. It probably would have been fine as is, but probably better with it a little bit machined off the top there. Now I'll just refit that starter motor and we'll see what clearance we've got. Okay, let's get this refitted again. Okay, let's just check that clearance between the neutralize bolt and the solenoid. And now there's just a little bit of clearance there. So the solenoid is not touching the bolt. Probably doesn't really matter that much. It wasn't really touching it by much, but a bit of clearance is always good in this situation. So now we can proceed. Okay, now we can reconnect the main battery lead. Reconnect the actual lead to the starter button. Now I'll just reconnect the earth lead. Well, I guess that pretty much wraps up this particular video. I guess only time will tell what the quality of this Chinese-made Arrowhead starter motor is like. I bought mine from a local dealer, so I can certainly claim warranty if I have failure in the first month or so. Now, I did do some research online and there were a mixture of reviews. Most of them were favourable from people who had had them fitted for several years or more. But on the other hand, there were a couple of failures, but most of those failures had happened fairly early on. So again, if you've purchased it locally or from a reputable online dealer, you should have no issues with a warranty claim. Anyway, I'll keep you up to date on whether there are any problems with my particular starter motor, and I'll catch you next time.